The moon hung full and bright over the quiet suburban streets, casting a silvery light that seemed to whisper secrets into the night. In that shimmering glow, Sarah sat on her bed, back against the wall, heart racing with the kind of trepidation only young love can stir. She couldn't shake the feeling that tonight would unveil something transformative, something that would change everything. In the silence of her room, surrounded by plush blankets and posters of her favorite bands, her mind was racing. She thought of Jake, her stepbrother. Just a few months ago, he had been just a mischievous presence in her life, a boy whose annoying habits kept her on her toes. But now things were different. They were no longer just step-siblings sharing a roof. They had become something more complicated, something raw and exhilarating. Their parents had recently married, and the blending of their families had not been without its challenges. But through the chaos of moved boxes, awkward dinners, and the strange newness of their shared home, Jake had become her ally. He was her confidant, the brother she had never had, and somewhere along the way, he had morphed into someone she couldn't stop thinking about. Would her heart betray her? Would the line between familial love and something deeper blur under the weight of their shared moments? A shiver of excitement danced up her spine as she remembered the last few days. The laughter they had shared while playing video games, the way his brown eyes sparkled when he teased her about her drawing skills, and how he had always been there to catch her when she stumbled over her words or her thoughts. Suddenly, a knock at the door pulled her from her reverie. "Hey, Sarah! You in there?" Jake's voice echoed through the room, casual and inviting. "Yeah, come in," she called, trying to sound nonchalant, though her heart pounded in her chest like a drum. The door creaked open and Jake stepped in, his casual wear contrasting sharply against the moonlight pouring through the window. As he leaned against the doorframe, a flicker of something sparked between them. The air felt electric, thick with unspoken words and shared glances. "I was thinking," he began, his voice low and tentative. "We could play some games tonight, just us." "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her heart racing even faster now. She pulled her gaming console out, struggling to maintain composure as she felt his gaze settle on her. She could sense a shift, a tension that neither of them knew how to address. But for now, they buried themselves in the world of pixels and playful competition. Hours later, laughter erupted as Sarah triumphantly announced her victory over him for the third time. The game had brought them into each other's orbits, away from the reality of their blended family dynamics. But now, as they lounged on the floor, their shoulders inadvertently brushing together, something shifted yet again. "Okay, I admit it. You're actually getting good at this," Jake said, pretending to pout. "Only because I have to carry you," Sarah retorted playfully, nudging him with her elbow. Their eyes locked for a moment longer than necessary, and Sarah felt her breath catch. In that fleeting gaze, she saw the hints of admiration mixed with something deeper, a craving for connection that went beyond friendly banter. "Anyway," Jake said, breaking the tension as he glanced away, "what do you want to do tomorrow?" "I was thinking we could hit up that new art exhibit. I remember you talked about it before." The offer caught Sarah off guard. Jake, with his typically laid-back attitude, wanted to spend time at an art exhibit with her. She had never thought he would take an interest in something so personal. "You mean it? You're really up for that?" she asked, excitement bubbling. "Why not?" "Your art is great, and I'm curious to see how you see the world," he replied, his nonchalant tone masking an earnest intent. A warmth spread through her. He saw her, not just as his stepsister, but as a talented artist. "That sounds perfect," she replied, heart fluttering at the thought of sharing something so close to her. Just as Jake turned to leave, he paused. "You know, I think it's cool how passionate you are about art. It's inspiring." His voice trailed off, leaving the room steeped in a sudden, quiet intimacy. Sarah felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. She was speechless, ensnared by the unexpected sense of validation his compliment provided. It felt like an invitation to express herself in ways she had never known she needed. As Jake headed to the door, he glanced back one last time, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "I'll see you tomorrow, then." "Yeah, see you tomorrow," she echoed, her mind racing even as he disappeared down the hallway. The night stretched on, but sleep eluded her. Questions whirled around like leaves caught in a gust of wind. What did Jake really think of her? Was there a chance that he felt the same way she did beneath all their teasing? Did he see her as more than just a sister? As she lay in the darkness, Sarah wrapped her arms around her knees, hugging them close to her chest as she bit her lip, caught between hope and fear. The excitement of tomorrow danced in her heart, and she realized that whatever transpired at the art exhibit, something had shifted in their relationship. Whether it would bloom or wither was still unknown, but one thing was clear. They were no longer just step-siblings. They were two friends on the brink of discovering something infinitely more complex, fragile, and beautiful. And for the first time, Sarah felt the thrill of possibility surge within her, igniting a fire she had never expected, one that promised to be both thrilling and terrifying at once. A shared secret. The sun rose the following day, casting a golden hue over Sarah's room. She awoke with a renewed sense of excitement, the memory of Jake's unexpected compliment still lingering in her mind. Today would be the day they explored the art exhibit together, a chance for them to delve deeper into their budding relationship. She couldn't shake the feeling that this trip would solidify something new between them, a mutual understanding that had been brewing beneath the surface. As she dressed, thoughts of what to wear flashed through her mind. Was it too forward to dress up? Should she play it cool and casual? After several attempts to choose the perfect outfit, she settled on a simple black sundress that flattered her figure without trying too hard. The moment she added a bright scarf to complement her look, her confidence soared. She was ready. Jake arrived promptly at noon, his tousled hair and laid-back jeans effortlessly cool. He knocked on her door with a familiar rhythm, and her stomach fluttered at the anticipation of their day. "Hey, are you ready?" he called, a hint of excitement threading through his voice. "Just about," she replied, trying to keep her own nerves at bay. She grabbed her bag and took a deep breath, steadying herself for whatever lay ahead. As she opened the door, Jake's eyes lit up. "You look great," he exclaimed, and instant warmth rushed to her cheeks. "Very artistic." "Thanks. You're not so bad yourself," she retorted playfully, trying to hide her blush. On their way to the exhibit, the air was filled with laughter. They exchanged stories about school, their family, and their mutual love for art. Eventually, they arrived at the gallery, its modern architecture imposing yet inviting. As soon as they stepped inside, Sarah felt her senses come alive. The colorful artwork sparked joy inside her, each piece telling a story waiting to be explored. Jake, however, appeared a bit overwhelmed. "So, what do we do first?" he asked, glancing around. "Let's start with that big mural over there." She gestured toward a vibrant piece that captured the chaos of life. The mural swirled with colors that seemed to dance, each stroke brimming with emotion. "It's about the struggles and triumphs of the human experience." "Pretty deep for a mural," Jake replied, arching an eyebrow. "But I like it." They stood side by side, their shoulders brushing lightly. Sarah pointed out the different sections of the mural, discussing how each element represented a different facet of life. As she spoke, she glanced occasionally at Jake, whose focus remained fixed on her, not the artwork. "So, what do you think?" she asked once they'd stood in silence for a while. "It's fascinating," he said, turning to her. "But honestly, I'm more interested in your perspective. You get so animated when you talk about art." Heart-pounding, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. They moved from piece to piece, and with each shared insight, an invisible connection strengthened between them. But it was the moment they paused in front of a striking piece, a dark canvas littered with bright stars, that truly changed everything. "What do you see?" Jake asked, tilting his head slightly. Pondering, Sarah finally replied, "I think it's about hope and despair. Like, no matter how dark things get, there's always a glimmer of light if you look for it." "I love that." "It's kind of like you," he mused, catching her off guard. "You always find a way to see the good, even when things are tough." The sincerity in his voice struck her like a thunderbolt. Was he hinting at something more? "Thanks, that means a lot," she managed, feeling her heart race. They spent hours in the gallery, but time seemed to slip by in an instant. Eventually, they found themselves sitting on a bench outside the gallery, basking in the afterglow of the experience. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over everything. "Hey, can I share something with you?" Jake asked, his tone shifting from playful to serious. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Sarah's curiosity piqued as she leaned in closer, an invisible thread of tension unspooling between them. "A while ago, I felt really lost. I mean, new family, school pressures, everything was just overwhelming." He hesitated, searching for the right words. "But ever since I met you, I've felt a little more grounded. You helped me navigate through the chaos." Sarah's chest warmed at his honesty. Did he really feel that way? "I'm glad to hear that. I mean, we've both been adjusting, and it's nice to have someone to lean on." "Yeah, exactly," he said, looking deeply into her eyes. "I guess what I'm trying to say is that I appreciate you, Sarah. You've brought more light into my life than you realize." Her heart swelled with emotion. But just as she felt the urge to confess her feelings, their moment was interrupted by a group of their mutual friends buzzing in with energy. Laughter and chatter filled the air, momentarily snuffing out the intimate bubble that had enveloped them. "Hey, Sarah, Jake, what are you doing out here?" one of their friends called, pulling them back into the hectic whirlwind of youth. As the group grew louder, Jake's expression momentarily darkened, but he masked it with a smile. The tension that had built between them hung in the air, unresolved. She could feel the unspoken words boiling beneath the surface. The entire experience had been thrilling, yet somehow frustrating. "Let's go grab some food," one friend exclaimed, and the group moved to the nearby cafe, laughter echoing in their wake. Sarah stole glances at Jake as they walked, sensing that he was also keenly aware of their unfinished conversation. The cafe buzzed with new energy, and although the chaotic atmosphere outside filled the air, she couldn't shake the feelings, accumulating in her chest. Throughout lunchtime, Sarah felt Jake's gaze from across the table, lingering as their friends gossiped and joked. In a quieter moment, he leaned closer, so only she could hear. "Let's talk later, okay?" His eyes held a depth that sent shivers down her spine. "Definitely," Sarah whispered back, her heart racing as she nodded. After lunch, as they walked back home amidst the laughter of their friends, the earlier tension returned, palpable and consuming. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the world in hues of orange and pink, as if marking the end of something and the beginning of everything else. Once home, Sarah excused herself, feeling the excitement of what lay unsaid nagging at her. She flopped onto her bed, heart racing and thoughts racing even faster, replaying every moment from the art exhibit. What did it all mean? Was she reading too much into Jake's words? But then the sincerity of his compliment crashed into her mind again, the spark in his eyes as he spoke about hope and despair, about her. Later that evening, after a few hours spent rehearsing her own thoughts, she finally gathered the courage to go downstairs, the comforting sounds of her family and the chatter of friends draped over her like a warm blanket. "Hey, Jake," she called, breaking through the throng. He turned to her, surprise washing over his face. "Hey, you all right? Can we talk?" She gestured toward the quieter side of the house. "Sure," he replied. His tone switched to something more serious. Heart pounding, she led him to the back porch, where cool evening breezes surrounded them, the world fading into stillness. Around them. "Look," she began, trying to quell the fluttering in her stomach. "About earlier at the gallery, what you said? I've been thinking a lot about it." Jake's expression went serious. "Yeah, me too. It's just hard to explain, you know? I think I know." The air crackled with anticipation and unspoken emotions. She could feel the moment stretching, teasing out the night's vulnerability like a flame threatening to ignite. "I feel closer to you than anyone else," Jake finally admitted, and the words hung in the air between them, an invitation wrapped in uncertainty. Sarah's heart thundered, and before she could respond, their friends burst in laughing, attempting to pull them inside. "Save it for another day? We can talk later?" Jake suggested, his voice mixed with urgency and disappointment. "Yeah," she replied, though her heart ached at the missed opportunity. As they rejoined the group, Sarah felt a mix of hope and frustration. The connection they were nurturing felt both fragile and powerful, and with each passing moment, she could sense that whatever was budding between them was destined for something monumental. As laughter echoed around her, she couldn't help but wonder if they would ever find the right moment to unveil their true feelings before it was too late. The awkward reunion. The days following their art exhibit trip felt turbulent for Sarah. She oscillated between high hopes and the weight of uncertainty about her relationship with Jake. Each moment they spent together felt charged with unspoken tension, the air thick with anticipation, yet every attempt to get closer felt thwarted by the chaos of their blended family and the prying eyes of friends. As the weekend approached, their parents announced a family barbecue, an occasion for both families to come together. Sarah felt a mix of excitement and dread. Would this be a chance for her and Jake to address the lingering feelings between them? Or would the whirlwind of family dynamics push them apart yet again? Saturday arrived sunny and bright. Sarah spent the morning preparing, dressing casually, in a loose-fitting summer top and denim shorts, aiming for a look that was effortlessly cool. But as she glanced in the mirror, a voice in her head urged her to reconsider. What if Jake didn't like what she wore? Would her choice make a good impression? Shaking off her self-doubt, she steeled herself for the day ahead. As the aroma of grilled burgers wafted through the house, Sarah made her way to the backyard, where the event was in full swing. Laughter and chatter filled the air, mixing with the sounds of sizzling meat on the grill. She spotted Jake immediately, standing by the grill, animatedly chatting with her dad. His relaxed demeanor made her heart flutter. "Hey, Sarah, come help me out," he called, flashing his infectious grin when he saw her approaching. "Sure thing," she replied, stepping closer. But as she reached him, she felt the pressure of their friends gathering around, ready to jump into the fray. The day proceeded, in a blur of laughter, food, and socializing, but Sarah found herself stealing glances at Jake more often than not. He had a way of making mundane moments feel exciting, turning simple jokes into memorable gems. But as the sunlight began to fade, creating a warm golden glow around them, the tension between them grew more palpable. Later in the afternoon, a group of her old high school friends arrived. Among them was Mark, her charming and ever-confident ex-crush. The moment she saw him, a knot twisted in her stomach. He was everything she used to find attractive, charismatic, funny, and effortlessly cool. She felt a mix of emotions swirl in her chest. "Sarah, it's been ages," he exclaimed, striding toward her with an eager smile. "Hey, Mark. Yeah, it has. Good to see you." She forced a smile, feeling a strange mix of nostalgia and discomfort as memories of her high school crush resurfaced. Just then, Jake stepped up beside her, his body tense. "Hey, Mark. What brings you here?" His voice held a hint of protectiveness, and Sarah noticed the way his jaw clenched slightly. "Just wanted to see the party. You know how it is," Mark replied, unabashed. "And who's this?" he said, glancing at Jake before leaning closer to Sarah. "Still hanging around with your stepbrother?" Jake seemed to bristle at the casual dismissiveness. Yeah, we are. Just having a good time, man," he replied, his tone colder than was necessary, but Sarah could hear the underlying tension. Before she could intervene, Jeremy, one of Mark's friends, joined the conversation. "Isn't it weird that you two are actually siblings now? Like, does it get awkward?" "Not at all," Sarah jumped in, more defensive than she intended. "Jake's more like my brother than anything else. We get along great." But as the words left her mouth, Sarah felt the weight of her truth and its implications. They shared a bond, but it was beginning to feel more intricate, more nuanced than she had let on. Mark's laughter filled the space, dismissing her, and Jake shifted slightly away from her. "Come on, Sarah, let's play some games," Mark suggested, and without waiting for her response, he turned away, beckoning the others to join him, under the large oak tree. "Sure," Sarah called, glancing at Jake with an apologetic look, but he shrugged it off, masking his discomfort. The friendly competition soon turned into chaotic excitement as the group engaged in lawn games. Sarah found herself drawn into their world, but the fun felt overshadowed by the undercurrent of tension in the air. Laughter erupted as Mark and Sarah teamed up for a game of cornhole, and she felt energized by the camaraderie. "See? This is way more fun than standing by the grill," Mark exclaimed, his competitive spirit shining through. Yeah, let's win this, Sarah encouraged, momentarily forgetting the weight of her earlier conversations with Jake. Meanwhile, Jake had taken a step back, standing at the edge of the crowd with arms crossed, watching the game unfold. The laughter pierced through him, like a knife, and he felt a flash of jealousy spark at the sight of Sarah giggling with Mark. He knew it was irrational, but he couldn't help feeling possessive over her. As the game progressed, Sarah's laughter rang out louder, mingling with cheers as they scored another point. Caught up in the moment, she glanced at Jake, expecting to see him smiling or at least engaging with the moment. Instead, she caught him frowning deeply, his expression clouding over with thoughts she couldn't decipher. The winning team gets bragging rights, Mark announced, throwing an arm around Sarah's shoulders, pulling her close. A sudden rush of irritation flooded through Jake, and before he could second-guess himself, he called out, "What's with the brother act, Mark?" The crowd fell silent, and Sarah blinked in surprise, but Jake's attention remained fixed on Mark. "Not everyone thinks it's just a joke," he added, his voice steady but edged with tension. Mark released Sarah, raising an eyebrow in feigned surprise. "Wow, someone's protective. Chill out, Jake, we're just having fun." Uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the group as Sarah felt her stomach twist in knots. "It's all good, right? We're just joking around. Right, Jake?" she said, attempting to break the icy moment. But the atmosphere had shifted, and Jake stepped forward, anger simmering beneath his surface. "This isn't a joke, and you're still my stepsister, Sarah. Don't forget that." The air grew thick with awkward tension as silence enveloped the gathering. Sarah felt her face heat up in embarrassment, her heart racing as everyone turned to look at them. "Guys, let's just play," someone finally piped up, trying to ease the tension, but the mood had already shifted irrevocably. "Yeah, let's," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper as she turned away from Jake, her heart sinking. She felt disappointment crawling over her and confusion reigned in her mind. What was he thinking? They returned to the games, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something had fractured in their fragile bond. Every laugh and cheer felt strained, every glance exchanged felt loaded with emotion. Jake hovered nearby, his tension palpable, and it made her feel more isolated than ever. After the sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows across the yard, the once bright atmosphere turned heavy. Sarah excused herself under the pretense of needing fresh air, but the truth echoed in her mind. She needed to process everything that had unraveled that day. She stepped onto the porch, where the cool evening air hit her face like a refreshing wave. From that vantage point, she could see Jake leaning against the railing, his profile illuminated by the soft glow of string lights casting flickering shadows. "Jake," she called softly, gauging his reaction. He turned, and his expression was tumultuous, caught between frustration and concern. "Can we talk?" Her voice was firm but layered with uncertainty. "Maybe we should," he replied, his tone mirroring her seriousness. As they moved away from the sounds of laughter, the weight of their unresolved feelings hung heavily around them, a tension waiting to snap. Once they were out of earshot, Sarah took a deep breath. "What was with that outburst earlier? You know Mark was just teasing, right?" "Teasing?" It felt more like he was trying to claim you as his, Sarah. Jake's voice was laced with frustration that matched the tension brewing between them. "It's complicated." "I thought we were over this," she countered, feeling the heat rise in her chest. "Is this about us, or just your jealousy?" "It's about everything," he exclaimed, running a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "I just don't want to lose what we have." The honesty of his words struck her, and the intensity of the moment felt electric. "But I need to know what we have first," she implored, heart racing. "I thought you knew. I thought we understood each other." His voice softened, revealing vulnerability she hadn't seen before. As they stood there under the flickering lights, everything felt charged with unspoken, meaning waiting for someone to take the leap into the unknown. But the weight of the world around them made the leap feel impossible. What came next hung in the balance, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their moment might slip away. "If they didn't act soon, maybe we need to be honest with each other," she suggested, heart racing at the thought of finally giving voice to their intricate connection. "Yeah," Jake replied, his voice barely above a whisper, but the intensity of their emotions filled the air, ready to unravel and explode. As they faced each other in the dim light, the world around them faded, the chaos of family and friends shifting into the background. It was just the two of them now, standing at the precipice of something transformative. But would they leap, or would fear hold them back? The answer lay just out of reach, hanging in the air like an unspoken promise, waiting for the right moment to soar. Moments of clarity. The night air was thick with anticipation, the tension between Sarah and Jake almost palpable, like static electricity waiting to discharge. They stood under the delicate glow of string lights, the outside world fading into insignificance as the weight of their unresolved emotions hovered above them. Okay? Let's be honest, Sarah began, her voice steadying despite the chaos in her heart. What are we doing here, Jake? He took a deep breath, the kind that seemed to summon courage. I don't know how to explain it, he admitted. But I've felt something growing between us, something more than just sibling-like support. I feel it too, Sarah interrupted, her heart fluttering at the admission. But it's confusing. It feels wrong and right at the same time. Jake stepped closer, and she could sense the warmth radiating from him. It's okay to feel both, he said softly. We've been through a lot in such a short time. It's natural to have mixed feelings, especially in a blended family. As he spoke, Sarah's thoughts flickered to their shared moments, the laughter, the inside jokes, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. But there was also the immediate chaos of their families, the prying eyes, of friends, the societal definitions of what their relationship meant. What if we try to define what this is? Together? Jake suggested, his eyes searching hers for understanding. I don't want to lose you, and I'm not looking to rush anything either. Sarah nodded, appreciating the sincerity in his voice. This was new ground for both of them, an unknown territory where rules weren't clearly defined. What if we just keep being ourselves? She replied. Close friends? Yes, but maybe let's explore this. Whatever this is. Without labels for now? Yeah, I like that. He smiled, relief washing over him. Let's take it one day at a time. Just as a weight began to lift, a loud shout broke through the calm. A group of friends burst onto the porch, ready to drag them back into the world of laughter and casual conversation. Come on, lovebirds, we need you for the next round of charades, one of them hollered. Here we go, Jake muttered under his breath, but Sarah sensed the tension lifting. She was grateful for the distraction, needing a moment to process everything that had been said. They rejoined the group, tensions boiling down to nothing but laughter and competition. Sarah found herself relaxing, the earlier conversation still simmering but no longer burning. It felt good to share the moment, the absurdity of charades breaking down barriers. As the night wore on, exhaustion began to set in. The group eventually disbanded, moving indoors to escape the cool night air, but Sarah took a moment to herself. She stepped back onto the porch, savoring the night sky, the twinkling stars reminding her of the vast and unknown possibilities ahead. Just then, Jake joined her, slipping into the empty space beside her as they both leaned against the railing. You okay? He asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. Yeah, just soaking it all in, Sarah replied, exhaling slowly. She turned to him, remembering their earlier conversation. I meant what I said. I really want to take things slowly. Same here. Whatever happens, I don't want to rush it, Jake affirmed, his voice low yet firm. Suddenly, Sarah felt bold. Want to make a pact? No matter what happens between us, we'll always communicate. No hiding feelings, no letting each other guess. We promise to talk it out as we navigate through this. She extended her pinky finger toward him playfully, the gesture adding a light-hearted tone to their gravity-laden moment. Jake chuckled, leaning in to link his pinky with hers. Deal. But, he added, a grin spreading across his face, you owe me ice cream at our next family dinner. Deal, she responded, grinning back. Just then, her phone buzzed with a notification, breaking the moment. Sarah glanced down, and her heart sank. Her best friend Mia had texted her about a rumor circulating at school regarding Jake and a new girl. The text read, Did you hear about Jake and Amber? They were seen together. What's wrong? Jake asked, noticing her expression darken. Just a text from Mia. She heard a rumor about you and some girl named Amber, she admitted, cringing at the thought of how these rumors could cause unnecessary drama. Jake's expression shifted from calm to something akin to disbelief. Amber? I have no idea who she even is, he exclaimed, visibly frustrated. This is the last thing I need right now, especially not after what we just talked about. Sarah felt a pang of concern. The tension from earlier was creeping back, threatening to overshadow the breakthrough they had just had. Let's not let rumors ruin what we've started, she said, trying to stay grounded. We know the truth. Let's stick to our pact. Right. So, no drama, just honesty starting now, he replied, trying to navigate through the storm of emotions. But fortune didn't seem to favor them that night. Just as they were finding their bearings, Mia emerged from the door, her expression vaguely mischievous. Sarah, can I snag you for a second? She called, all smiles, but Sarah could read the undertones of curiosity mingling with excitement. Sure, Sarah replied hesitantly, looking back at Jake, who wore a frustrated frown. As she stepped back into the house with Mia, she felt Jake's gaze on her, tinged with a hint of possessiveness. Inside, Mia didn't waste any time. You need to see this, she said, pulling her phone out and shoving it toward Sarah, displaying a series of social media posts circulating about Jake and Amber. Photos from the barbecue and a few leaked pictures from some school event. This is wild. Sarah's stomach twisted. As each picture flickered across Mia's screen, she could feel the air leaving her lungs. In every image, Jake was laughing, appearing to enjoy the company of another girl, his radiant smile captivating in a way that made her heart ache. I'm sorry, I didn't know he was, Mia started apologetically. It's okay. Sarah's voice was quiet, but inside, a storm was raging. The feelings of clarity they had just unpacked were being drowned by doubt. He doesn't even know this girl. I mean, I feel like we just uncovered something important between us, you know? But seeing this, it hurts. I get it. You should talk to him. Don't let this fester between you. You deserve to know what's going on. Nodding, Sarah felt resolved, yet enveloped by apprehension. You're right. I'll talk to him, she said, squaring her shoulders, tormented. By conflicting emotions, Sarah stepped back outside, the garden transformed under the moon's glow. There was Jake, still leaning against the railing, glancing at the stars but looking somewhat lost. She approached him, her heart pounding as a heavy silence loomed between them. Jake, she began, her voice steady yet fragile. We need to talk. He turned, concern etched across his features. What is it? Taking a deep breath, she fought through the swirl of emotions. Mia just showed me some things about you and Amber. At the mention of her name, Jake's expression stiffened, a shadow passing over his features. I don't know what you're talking about, he responded defensively. Jake, I just saw pictures. You were with her, laughing. It looked cozy. The disappointment laced her words, but she steeled herself to maintain eye contact, refusing to break. Sarah, wait! You don't understand, he insisted, pushing off the railing, urgency in his voice. I've barely talked to her. It's not what it looks like. But how can I trust that? She asked, her voice wavering. Everything feels chaotic just when we were finally getting somewhere. Before he could respond, their friends began to emerge again, laughter and playful banter echoing into the night. Someone yelled, Jake! Sarah! Come join us for some fireworks! Moved by the excitement, Jake turned, and for a moment, Sarah felt her heart crack. Would they forever be caught in this cycle of misunderstandings? The last glow of hope flickered as the chaos of social dynamics ensnared them once more. Let's talk after, he said, almost pleading as he stepped back toward their friends, not entirely able to mask his disappointment. Yeah. After, she replied in a tone filled with reluctant acceptance. The bright explosions of fireworks lit up the darkness, and for a moment, everything else faded. The colors reflected in their eyes, but they stood on the precipice of uncertainty, grounded by fragile hopes, fears, and the questions swirling between them. As the night wore on, both felt the distance between them growing farther than the fireworks could illuminate, leaving echoes of what could have been hidden beneath the colorful show. The time to confront the truth would come again, but soon or late, they knew it loomed, ready to crash back into their lives. And so, under the brilliant light of fireworks blooming across the sky, a new uncertainty settled in the air, waiting to explode into something significant, something that would steer the course of their lives forever.